Hello, and welcome to the Sleepless Physicist. I'm really glad you found your way here, and maybe you didn't even mean to. Maybe it was just a click or a whisper in your mind that said, stay. But however you arrived, you're here, and that matters. Let's not rush. Take a moment. Let your body tell you it's okay to be still. Maybe you're lying down already. Or maybe you're slowly curling beneath the weight of the night. Lights dimmed, curtains drawn, and a blanket, just heavy enough to remind you that you're allowed to rest. You've done enough today, even if it didn't feel like it, even if your mind has been restless, even if the hours slipped by and left you feeling like time wasn't yours. It's okay. Right now, none of that is chasing you. This moment is different. This moment isn't measured by clocks or deadlines or expectations. This moment is only measured by stillness, by the softness in your chest, by the breath that moves in and out of you like a tide that doesn't need an audience. And if your thoughts are still moving fast, that's okay too. Let them wander, let them swirl like distant galaxies in the background of your mind. Because tonight, we're not trying to turn everything off. We're not fighting against the current. We're floating with it, drifting, softly, into a question that's been waiting for you. Not a loud question, not a demanding one, but a quiet, poetic mystery. Are you moving through time, or is time moving through you? It sounds simple, doesn't it? But like all real questions, it has a shadow. And that shadow is why we're here together tonight. So as you settle into the quiet, I want you to imagine something, not with effort, but like a dream that finds you. Imagine this isn't just a story. Imagine it's a place, a small, gentle pocket of the night where wonder and calm can sit side by side, like old friends. Here, there are no wrong thoughts, no loud answers, just the hum of mystery, the murmur of cosmic lullabies, and a voice, mine, offering not conclusions, but companionship. You see, I didn't come here to teach. I came here to wonder, to drift with you through the questions that don't fit neatly in textbooks. Because physics isn't just about equations and particles. It's about what it feels like to be made of time. And you are. You're not just in time. You are time, wearing skin. You are the memory of stars, shaped into breath. Let that thought rest inside you, not like a fact to memorize, but like a warmth, soft and slow, slipping into the quiet corners of your chest. Still with me? That means your mind is listening, even if your eyes are heavy, even if your muscles are beginning to loosen their grip on the day. You don't have to chase the ideas. They'll come to you, like shadows stretching across a quiet floor, like water finding the shape of its container. And I want you to know something else. I've made this story as sleepy as I could, but wonder sometimes stirs the soul. So if you find yourself feeling awake with curiosity, that's okay. Let it pass through you. Don't hold it too tightly. Curiosity is gentle. It doesn't need resolution, only room to breathe. And if you're already enjoying this quiet moment, maybe, just maybe, a gentle like, no pressure, only if it feels as natural as your next breath, as soft as the next blink of your tired eyes. Because here, nothing is forced. Everything just is, as it should be. And if you feel like sharing where you're listening from, I'd love that too. I read every constellation of comments, and it's beautiful, watching the map of bedtime light up across the world, from sleepy cities wrapped in rain, to desert skies where stars fall like whispers, to quiet bedrooms where one tired soul, just like you, is wondering about time. That's the beautiful thing, isn't it? We're scattered across the planet, but when the lights dim and the voice softens, we meet in the same dream. So now, let's begin. Lay back, Take a breath and look up. There's something waiting for you in the stillness, something ancient, something tender, and maybe something that already knows your name. Do you remember the feeling when you were young and the world felt impossibly big? Before the clocks, before the rush, before you had to name everything. Back when time wasn't something you followed, but something that followed you. It moved slower then, didn't it? Like syrup, like the drift of clouds, like the pause between stories at bedtime. That's the rhythm we're returning to now. Not to escape life, but to remember how to live within it. To relearn the art of being carried by thought, by time, by wonder itself. So let's try something together. Close your eyes if you haven't already. Let your breath be soft, barely there. You don't need to count it. Just let it come and go like a wave you trust. Now feel the space around you. Not just your bed, not just your room, but the invisible sea you're floating in. The air that presses gently against your skin. The quiet hum of your body settling. The universe isn't far. It's closer than your pulse. It's in you. You are not outside of it. You are inside the equation, because every atom in your body was once part of a star. Not metaphorically, literally. Your bones remember the fire. Your blood remembers the collapse. You are the long echo of fusion and gravity and dust. And time is the melody that plays you. But here's the curious part. Even though time moves forward, you never feel time directly. You feel change. You feel memory. You feel the distance between then and now, but never the thing itself. So, are you swimming through time, or are you standing still while time washes through you like light through glass? That's the mystery we'll explore tonight, not to solve it, but to sleep inside the question. And while we drift there, let's soften everything. Soften the edges of your thoughts. Soften the tension in your jaw. Let your tongue fall from the roof of your mouth. Let your shoulders drop, like they've just remembered they don't need to hold the world. There you go. Now, imagine the world getting dimmer, like someone slowly lowering a candle. Shadows stretch, corners blur. The noise of the day begins to hush. You're no longer in your room. You're with it, held by it. A small, quiet place inside a sleeping planet. No alarms, no expectations. Only this, a shared moment between you, me, and the great unknowable mystery. Because tonight isn't just about sleep. It's about being seen, and I see you. Not your face, not your story, but something deeper. The part of you that aches for meaning, that listens for silence, that wonders, even when it's tired, especially when it's tired. And that's why I made this quiet little corner of the internet, a place where science isn't loud, where physics isn't a test, but a feeling. Because when we strip away the noise, when we lay down the armor of knowing, what we're left with is something beautifully fragile, wonder, pure and simple, not the kind that shouts, the kind that whispers. And tonight, it's whispering to you. So stay close, because in a moment, we'll begin our drift, a journey through the fabric of time, the strange elasticity of memory, and the hidden poetry inside every passing second. But before we go deeper, just promise me one thing. Don't try too hard. Don't reach. Don't expect to get it all. Let the story carry you. Let your breathing sync with the rhythm of thought. Let the spaces between the words be just as important as the words themselves. Because sleep doesn't come when you demand it. It comes when you surrender. So give yourself permission to surrender to this quiet, to this curiosity, to the soft machinery of the universe that is already moving through you. You don't need to go anywhere. You're already in motion. Time is already singing its lullaby in your blood. And this is the overture, the first page of a dream, the gentle knock on the door between awareness and wonder. So breathe, and listen and let go. The journey is just beginning. Welcome to the drift. There's a moment just after the tick and just before the talk where time seems to hesitate, not stop, not pause, just hesitate, like it's catching its breath. You've felt this before, haven't you? When you're lying awake at night and the world goes quiet, not just outside, but inside you too. No plans, no scrolling, no pretending, just you and the weightless hush between what just happened and what comes next. That is the stillness between seconds. It's not measurable. No stopwatch can find it. No calendar counts it. But it's there, woven into the rhythm of reality like a hidden thread. And in that thread, a question unravels. What is time? Not the schedule, not the deadlines, not the numbers blinking on your phone, but the real thing. The invisible current that carries every leaf from spring to autumn, every thought from now to memory, every heartbeat towards silence. When you try to look at it, time disappears. You can't hold it. You can't point to it. You can only feel its shadows in the way children grow taller, in the way faces soften with age, in the way a goodbye echoes longer than you expected. So what is time? Some say it's a line, a long, unbroken thread that stretches from the Big Bang to the very last breath of the universe. Some say it's a loop, a circle repeating itself, where every now has already happened and will happen again. And some, the poets, the dreamers, the restless physicists lying awake at 3 a.m., say it's not a line at all, not a circle, not a direction, but a fields, a strange, bending, breathing fabric that stretches and shrinks depending on how fast you move or how deep you fall into gravity's arms. According to Einstein, time isn't separate from space. It's part of it. Like threads in the same tapestry, space-time, which means when you walk across a room, you're not just changing location, you're also shifting in time. You don't just move through space, you drag time with you like a cloak. But even this doesn't answer the question, because if time bends and speeds up and slows down and maybe even stops around the edges of black holes, then what is it? A force? A dimension? An illusion? Let's step back for a second. Think about how we've tried to make sense of time. As humans, across thousands of years, we tracked the shadows. We watched the stars. We followed the moon's phases like a divine pulse in the sky. Then we built sundials, water clocks, mechanical gears ticking like hearts made of brass. And now we wear it. On our wrists, in our pockets, tiny digital gods that beep and buzz and convince us we're late, even when we're exactly where we need to be. But here's the truth. These are not time. They are tools, rituals, a way to name the passing so we don't feel lost in the flow. Because time doesn't tick, we do. Your heart ticks, your breath talk. The slow blink of your eyes in the morning light ticks. The flutter of your thoughts just before sleep talk. We are the clocks. And still, even when all the clocks are off, even when your phone is face down, even when the world forgets what time it is, you still feel it moving, not as numbers, but as sensation, the stretch of longing, the sting of nostalgia, the ache of anticipation, the relief of finally arriving. So maybe time is not outside you. Maybe it's inside, not a river you're floating down, but a tide rising in your chest. Maybe the past isn't behind you, it's within you, and the future isn't ahead. It's already stirring in your bloodstream, reaching for the next breath. Because what if? What if it's not that you move through time? What if time moves through you, each moment passing through your body, like wind through an open window, like light bending through a raindrop? You are not a passenger. You are the landscape. Time flows through you like a song flows through the strings of a violin, resonating, trembling, but always leaving behind silence when the last note fades. And in that silence, the question echoes louder. If time isn't a thing we travel through, but a thing that passes through us, then who are we when we stop chasing it? Who are you in the stillness between seconds? Are you empty, or are you full of all the things you've seen, all the versions of yourself you've been, all the quiet truths you carry without knowing? In this moment, right now, you are not moving, not really. You are suspended, weightless. A breath is held by the universe, and that's where wonder begins. Not in the ticking, but in the hush that wraps around each tick. Not in the answers, but in the deep velvet silence between the questions. And tonight, we rest in that silence. We let it unfold. We let it carry us into places language can't reach, but your soul already knows. There's something haunting about silence, not the silence of a room or a night without noise, but the silence between sounds, the pause that separates one heartbeat from the next, the space between your inhale and exhale, the stillness between seconds. You rarely notice it because the world is always moving, tick by tick, task by task, breath by breath. But once in a while, when everything stops, you feel it, that aching, empty hush, a space so small it could disappear, and yet it holds everything together. In those tiny, forgotten intervals, that's where time becomes strange. We imagine time as a line, neat, continuous, from past to present to future. A timeline, like a thread we're walking along, where each footstep is a second, each mile a memory. But does time really flow in a line? Or is that just the story we tell ourselves to feel less lost in the chaos? Ancient myths spoke of time as a serpent, eating its own tail, a loop, a cycle. The seasons return, the moon repeats, the birth echoes death. A circle, not a line. Endless, familiar, softly terrifying. Then came the clocks, the gears, the grids. We wanted to trap time, to box it, measure it, hold it. We built seconds like bricks and stacked them into schedules. But what we created wasn't time. It was rhythm. And rhythm is a kind of illusion. Just because we tap our foot doesn't mean the universe moves with us. You see, there is no master clock in the cosmos, no ticking heartbeat that pulses through space, no universal drum. There's just movement, entropy, unfolding. Time might not even exist on its own. Some physicists believe it's not a thing, not a substance, not a force, but a byproduct, an echo. Like a shadow is to light. Time is to change. Where there is no change, there is no time, no before, no after, only now, and now, and now again. But what is now, really? When you try to hold on to this moment, to freeze it, name it, claim it, it vanishes, like catching smoke with your hands. We say now, but it's always already gone. By the time you name it, you're too late. It's already a memory. It's as if time isn't made of points, but of passing. A slipping, a falling, like sand through a glass. You can't catch it, you can only feel it, leave. And yet, paradoxically, you are always in it. You never step outside time. You don't visit it. You are it, you embody it. Your breath, your pulse, your thoughts, all obey rhythms you didn't choose. Your body has clocks inside, biological ones, circadian ones, clocks that know when to wake, when to sleep, when to decay. Time isn't a calendar. It's your skin aging, your cells dying, your memories slipping into blur. It's the soft erosion of what was, and the mysterious arrival of what will be. And yet, there are moments, rare, profound, when time seems to stop, when you fall in love, when grief rips through you, when you're so present, so utterly alive, that everything else disappears. A kiss that stretches forever, a goodbye that collapses decades, a silence that holds infinity. In those moments, you feel time not as numbers, but as weight, as pressure, as meaning. Because maybe time isn't measured by clocks, but by how deeply something imprints your soul. And maybe, just maybe, time isn't even out there at all. Maybe time doesn't move through you. You move through it, like a needle through fabric, like a flame through darkness, carving a path, stitch by stitch, moment by moment. Some theories, quantum, relativistic, suggest time is more like a landscape, already existing, already complete. You don't create it by living. You simply pass through it. Every version of you, every moment, every thought, all still exist, frozen, laid out in a grand, unchanging tapestry, and you are the traveler. But then, who is the you that moves? If the past still exists and the future is already written, who is this you that feels so alive now? Is it your consciousness, your perception, your illusion? And if you could step outside of time, what would you see? Would you see yourself as a baby, as a child, as a dreamer, as an old soul all at once? Would you realize you've been all of them, always, that nothing is ever truly lost? Or would it terrify you to know that you are only a frame in an endless reel of film, flickering, brief, and inevitable? There is a stillness between seconds that hums with these questions. It doesn't shout, it whispers, softly, like a secret you almost remember. And if you listen, truly listen, you might hear something beyond answers. You might hear the sound of your own soul breathing through time. You lie there now, somewhere between yesterday and tomorrow, cradled in the hush of this moment. Outside, the world still spins, stars are burning, galaxies are colliding, and deep underground, atoms are decaying in silence, marking time without ever needing to be seen. But inside you, something softer is unfolding. You are not in a hurry. There is no race. Time is not a wave you must outrun. It's a river you can float in, and the river does not ask where you're going. It just carries you with quiet patience toward the mystery of whatever comes next. Sometimes it speeds up. Sometimes it slows, not in minutes, but in feelings. Because that's the secret the clocks can't tell you. Time bends to emotion. Fear stretches a second into eternity. Joy compresses hours into flashes. Grief traps you in loops. Love sets you free. Time is not a machine. It's a mirror, and it reflects who you are in every passing moment. So, who are you really when all the ticking stops? Not the version of you on paper, not the name you sign or the roles you play, but the quiet hum beneath it all. The awareness watching your breath rise and fall. The gentle witness who feels but never pushes. The soul who notices without needing to speak. That version of you, it doesn't measure life in years. It doesn't care how old you are, what day it is, or where you're supposed to be tomorrow. It lives outside of time, like a note held in silence, like the space between stars. And maybe that's why you're here now, in this strange floating state between wakefulness and dreaming. To remember that part of you, to meet yourself again, not as a body or a mind, but as a presence, a being moving gently through the river of change. Let go of the need to do. Let go of the hours and expectations. There's no wrong place to be, no better time than this. You're not missing out. You're not running late. You're exactly where the river needs you. Breathe into that truth. Feel how it softens your chest, how it loosens your grip, how it melts the idea that you're behind, because there's nothing to catch up to. Time doesn't leave you. It unfolds with you, like petals of a flower opening, one gentle breath at a time. You don't have to rush. You don't have to plan. You don't even have to understand. Just be. And in this stillness, listen. Not to the ticking, but to the silence between it. That soft, invisible thread weaving your moments into meaning. That silence is not empty. It is sacred. It is where all things rest before becoming real. And maybe that's where you came from, not from time, but from the stillness between it. And one day, when your story is complete, you won't vanish. You'll simply return to that quiet place, the in-between, not lost, not gone, just stilled, like a wave returning to the ocean, like light folding back into the dark. Until then, sleep softly, let the river carry you, and if in the middle of some dream you find yourself wondering, am I moving through time, or is it moving through me? Just smile, because now you understand the truth. You and time are not separate. You are the same silence, the same breath, the same beautiful impermanent unfolding. And this moment, right now, is yours completely, forever. You may feel still right now, lying there, your arms resting gently at your sides, your breath slow and quiet, your body perfectly still. But stillness is a trick of the senses, a sweet, convincing illusion. Because while you lie there, the earth beneath you is spinning, 1,000 miles per hour, spinning you toward the next sunrise. And that earth, it's orbiting the sun at 67,000 miles per hour. And the sun, it's hurtling through the Milky Way at 514,000 miles per hour, dragging you with it through an ancient spiral of stars. You are not still. You never were. Even now, as your breath barely stirs the air, every atom inside you is trembling, shifting, vibrating, dancing to the rhythm of heat and time. Stillness is just movement from too far away to feel. It's like standing on the shore watching an ocean so wide it looks flat. But underneath, waves are churning, currents are surging. Life is shifting in invisible tides. That's what you are too. A sea of change that feels like calm. Even your thoughts, the quiet ones, the ones that seem to hover in place, are in motion. You never have the same thought twice. Not really. Because by the time it returns, you are already someone else. A second older, a cell newer, a memory heavier or lighter. You are always becoming. You are always changing shape. Even sleep, this peaceful surrender, is not a pause. It is a passage. Your brain drifts through cycles, through dreams, through stages of repair and renewal. Nothing about you is paused. You're just flowing in ways you can't see. And still, we cling to the illusion. We say, let's stay here a little longer. We hold on to moments as if they're still photographs. We freeze memories, like insects in amber. But time doesn't wait. The moment you just heard is already behind you. The second you just breathed has dissolved. Even this sentence, by the time you reach the end of it, the beginning is already gone. And yet somehow, we long for stillness, for permanence, for something that won't leave. Why? Because change feels like loss, because movement feels like uncertainty, and because part of us, the part that remembers pain, just wants something to stay the same. But here's the truth, soft and strange. Change is not the enemy. Movement is not chaos. It is nature's way of saying, you are alive. Stillness, real stillness, would mean stasis, and stasis is not peace. It is silence without life. You are not a statue. You are a flame. You flicker. You respond. You reach. You are always in motion, even in your quietest moments. So don't fear the change. Don't fight the flow. Float in it. Trust it. Like a leaf resting on a river. Like a star gliding through the dark. Like you. now being carried forward by something you can't quite name, but deeply feel. You're not being taken, you're being transformed. Close your eyes for a moment. Let everything go quiet. Now listen, not to sound, but to the gentle pull beneath it all. The hum of something ancient moving through everything. That too is motion. You can't hear atoms spinning. You can't hear blood shifting through your veins. But it's happening. You are not a solid thing. You are a momentary arrangement, a symphony of particles, playing a song that only exists for a time, like wind brushing over water, here, then gone. Even your name isn't fixed. It clings to something changing, something passing through seasons of self and skin. We say, this is who I am. But who is that? The child you were is no longer here. The person you were last year has vanished, molecule by molecule, thought by thought. And yet you still call it me. That's the illusion, the story we tell to stay grounded. But in truth, you are more like a wave than a stone, more like a song than a statue, more like a sunrise, never quite the same twice. Even your memories, those anchors of identity, are not still. Every time you revisit one, you change it. You soften an edge, so you blur a face. You add a tear where there was none before. Memory, too, is movement. It flows backward and forward. We like to think of time as a road, straight, narrow, reliable, but maybe it's more like a sky. Maybe time isn't something you move through. Maybe it's something that moves through you, like wind moves through a field, shaping the grass but never staying. And in that way, you're not traveling. You're being played like an instrument. Each moment is a note, each heartbeat a rhythm, each breath a pause between measures. You are music in motion. You are time expressed as a body. Even now, as you drift in this quiet space, you're not resting. Your cells are whispering to each other. Your organs are composing new symphonies. Your mind is reweaving itself in the background. Stillness is just at the part of the dance you don't notice, but underneath it, everything is spinning, even the galaxies, even the stars that look frozen in the night. They are turning, colliding, expanding into deeper darkness. They only appear still because of how far away they are, because distance makes movement slow, and maybe that's what life is too. Maybe your stillness is just movement you haven't seen yet. The choices you made years ago are still moving through you. The people you've loved are still echoing inside you. The pain you thought you buried still pulses, quietly shaping the way you breathe. Nothing stands still, not time, not truth, not you, and yet there is beauty in that. Because if nothing stands still, then nothing is stuck. You are never trapped in one feeling, one story, one shape. You are allowed to change. You are allowed to become someone you haven't met yet. Even tonight, this very moment is a passage, not a pause. So let yourself float in it. Don't resist the drift. Don't try to hold the moment in your fist. It will slip through, like water, like wind, like a dream. But that's what makes it sacred. It's not here to stay. It's here to carry you. And as long as you are being carried, you are alive. Look at your hand, just for a moment. Still, quiet, resting. It looks like it isn't doing anything. But beneath the skin, there are countless processes unfolding. Cells are dying and being reborn. Molecules are colliding. Neurons are firing off tiny sparks of electricity faster than you can think. Still, only in appearance. The earth beneath you, too, is rotating at over 1,600 kilometers per hour. And as it spins, It flies around the sun at nearly 30 kilometers every second, but you don't feel it. Why? Because you were born into motion. You are made of it. You've never truly experienced stillness, only the illusion of it. Even the atoms in the floor under you vibrate. The wood, the carpet, the stone, none of it is frozen. All of it is trembling with quiet urgency. The entire universe is humming, a cosmic lullaby, so deep and so constant that your ears grew tired of hearing it long ago. But it's still there, underneath all the silence, a pulse, a breath. You are riding that breath now, and maybe this is the mystery that keeps time so slippery, so hard to hold in your hands. Stillness doesn't exist, only slowness does. Moments that move so gradually they seem not to move at all, like the opening of a flower, or the shifting of tectonic plates, or the turning of a soul toward forgiveness. Slow doesn't mean stopped. The moments when you feel like nothing is happening, those are often the most important ones. The stillness before a decision, the silence before an answer, the pause before you say yes or no. There's motion even there, and that's the quiet tragedy, isn't it? We wait for life to begin, believing we're on pause. We wait to feel something, to find someone, to become someone. But time doesn't wait for you to feel ready. It passes through you like a river through your fingers. And you don't even notice until the water is gone. That memory you just recalled, already fading. That breath you just took, already transformed into the air around you. Even this moment, this whisper in your ears, is already slipping into the past. Nothing stands still, not the stars, not your thoughts, not the pain you carry or the peace you seek. Everything is gliding, drifting, unfolding in silence. And that's not something to fear. It means nothing is permanent. Not your sorrow, not your shame, not the version of you that once felt broken. The universe doesn't cling. It lets go, gently, constantly, endlessly, and so can you. Because you were never meant to stay still. You were meant to move like stardust in a breeze, like moonlight across water, like time itself. And as you drift deeper into sleep tonight, let that truth soften you. Let it carry you not to some fixed destination, but to a place beyond destination. A place where nothing needs to be held because everything is already becoming. You are not frozen. You are not behind. You are not stuck. You are simply in motion. Quiet, invisible, sacred motion. And that is enough. There's something strange about memory. It never arrives all at once. It drifts, it flickers, it fades in and out like a candle in the dark. And when it returns, it's never quite the same as when it left. Like a traveler who's changed just from the journey back. Why? Because memory isn't just a photograph in your brain. It's motion. It's a living process, rewritten each time you recall it. Not like retrieving a file, but like painting it again, from fragments, from feelings, from the texture of time itself. Even now, you aren't remembering the past. You're creating it again and again in the present moment. Memory is not something you store. It's something you do. And what's most forgotten is that memory isn't just mental. It's physical. Your body remembers. Your scars, your habits, the way your shoulders tense when you're afraid, the way your breath shortens at the echo of a name you swore you let go of. Your cells hold timelines you never consciously kept, because time writes its stories into everything that moves. Even the atoms in your blood carry the memory of stars. They were born in motion, explosions, fusion, the heat of dying suns etched into your very structure. You are memory in motion. That's what entropy is too. Not just disorder, but the quiet fading of sharpness into blur. Of forgetting, not of content, but of pattern. Entropy is why a broken glass won't jump back together, why a melted candle can't regain its original shape, why the warmth of a hug doesn't stay when the arms are gone. It's not cruelty. It's the way the universe remembers by letting go. Every second that passes is a shift from what was to what is becoming. A trade. To hold on to something is to resist that current, but to remember something is to flow with it, to feel it morph and stretch and become part of you in a new way. This is why you can't go back. Even in dreams, you never really return. You move forward through echoes. Time doesn't loop. You do, circling around old stories, retelling them, reframing them, resurrecting them with new meaning. But each loop is a spiral, never truly the same, never truly still. And that's where the beauty hides. Memory is motion, and motion is how you stay alive. You are not a static identity. You are a story in revision, an autobiography told by shifting molecules and changing perspectives. Your past is not behind you. It's inside you, in how you walk, in what makes you pause, in what brings tears to your eyes, even when you can't explain why. Because you're not just carrying memories. You are one, a memory that never ends, because it never stops moving. And the more still you become, the clearer this paradox begins to hum. Even when you sleep, you turn. The earth carries you forward as you lie in bed, breathing quietly. You age in your stillness. You change even in your rest. So tonight, as you drift deeper into this soft, slow current, let yourself feel it, that you're not fading. You're unfolding, like a memory, like a star, like the story of someone still becoming. Close your eyes for a moment, not to fall asleep just yet, but to listen to the sounds that memory makes when it walks through your body. Maybe it's the echo of a song you used to love. Maybe it's the phantom weight of someone's hand in yours. Or maybe it's quieter, like the hush of rain against a childhood window, the scent of an old book, the feeling of a door that never closed quite right. These are not just moments, they are micro movements, faint tremors inside your being that never fully stopped. The universe doesn't keep memories in some divine hard drive. It keeps them in direction, in gradients, in momentum, in the way heat spills from one thing to another, but never fully comes back. That's entropy again, the law of increasing disorder. But maybe disorder is the wrong word. Maybe it's release. Because what if the universe isn't losing information? It's transforming it. What if memory, too, isn't loss, but reformation? The ink of time doesn't vanish. It smudges. It bleeds into the next page. It fades just enough to let the new lines be written. So who you were 5 years ago, 5 minutes ago, is still here, not in the way you think, not as an unbroken thread, but as scattered ripples in the pond of you. Your choices, your hesitations, your regrets, they don't vanish. They dissolve into posture, into preference, into personality. What you forget, your body still remembers. And what your body forgets, the universe remembers for you. You were born into a world already in motion. The molecules in your lungs were once inside volcanoes, inside oceans, inside ancient beasts that no longer have names. Even now, as you lie still, you're moving through a history written in collisions and decompositions. You are made of memories you've never lived, but you carry them. Because motion carries them. Because time carries them. But maybe time isn't just movement. Maybe it's the awareness of movement, the noticing, the wake left behind as you drift forward. That's what memory really is. Not the past itself, but the trace it leaves. Like footprints that vanish as the tide comes in. But for a moment, you knew where you stood. And maybe you don't need to keep everything. Maybe memory, like breath, works best when you let some of it go. Not all things are meant to be preserved. Some are meant to melt into the stream so they can water something new. Entropy is the gardener of the cosmos. It turns heat into growth, collapse into renewal, memory into motion, motion into memory. It doesn't care if you remember the details. It just wants the momentum to continue. So much of your life is lived trying to capture moments, people, meanings. But none of them stay, not because they're weak, but because they're alive, and life moves. A butterfly's wings tear as it flutters. A comet burns as it sails. A heartbeat slows as you fall asleep. That's not loss, that's transition. So let this part of you, the one holding too tightly, soften. The version of you that aches to remember doesn't need to, because even the forgotten becomes part of the rhythm. You are not the contents of memory. You are the shape memory takes as it passes through this one small, sacred life. A shape that can cry. A shape that can change. A shape that can lie down now and let itself be moved by the story that continues with or without knowing. You may think of yourself as a solid person, as someone stable, with a name, a story, a direction. But beneath that illusion of continuity, you are just change, remembered. You are a choreography of instincts, a rehearsal of thoughts performed so often they became your identity. But what if identity isn't who you are, but simply what stayed in motion? The way you flinch when criticized, the way your voice lifts when you lie, the way you reach out and then pull back, again and again, like a shoreline unsure whether to embrace the sea. These aren't just traits, they're echoes, emotional physics, habits that time has wrapped around you like vines on an old cathedral, not because they belong, but because they found a place to cling. Everything you do, every preference, every resistance, every attraction, is a small momentum of memories still unfolding. There's a strange comfort in that, because it means you were never just a fixed being trying to figure it all out. You were always a process of remembering, forgetting, adjusting, and carrying forward what couldn't be left behind. Your body knows this. It remembers the sun before you do. It remembers the grief in your chest, even when your mind says, "I'm fine." We often assume memory happens in the mind, in electrical firings and brain folds, but that's only part of it. Memory is stored in silence, in pauses, in the way your fingers hesitate before touching something new, in the heaviness behind your smile when someone asks, "How have you been?" It's stored in breath patterns, in the weight of your voice, in the tilt of your head when you say, "I don't know." And time, that invisible sculptor, is always carving, always nudging, always eroding the edges of your yesterdays so that today has somewhere soft to land. You might feel like you've lost parts of yourself, childhood joys, people you loved, versions of you that once burned bright. But those parts were never lost. They were transmuted. The energy didn't disappear. It became part of how you move now, how you choose, how you protect yourself without even realizing it. And maybe that's what healing truly is. Not forgetting, not fixing, but letting your internal movements realign with the truth of where you are now. Because the story of you never ends. It just flows from moment to moment, from neuron to muscle, from intention to action, from one breath into the next. You are not broken. You are being rewritten, not all at once, but one quiet sentence at a time. And when you finally rest, when your thoughts slow, when your body gives in to the hush of sleep, that's not a break in the narrative. That's the comma, the pause, the gentle silence between notes that makes the music linger longer. Even now, as your breath evens out, as your muscles soften, as the world grows more distant, you're still moving, still remembering, still becoming. Sleep, then. Let memory ripple through you. Let time carry you without resistance. You are not done. You are just beginning again in a new direction, because the story of you, the memory that never ends, has no final period of only motion, only transformation, only grace. Time doesn't tick evenly, not in the universe and not in the human heart. There are places in space where time slows down, places so heavy, so dense, so powerful, that even light bends to their will. Black holes, gravity wells, eternal stillnesses wrapped in motion, not because they destroy, but because they hold too much mass, too much pull, too much memory, and the deeper you go into gravity, the slower your clock moves. That's not poetry, it's physics. Einstein showed us. The faster you move, the slower your time flows, and the stronger the gravity, the more time bends around it. If you stood on the edge of a black hole, a few minutes for you could mean years, even centuries, for the rest of the universe. But here's the secret no equation can express. You felt that already, not in space, but in silence, in waiting, in grief, in love so heavy it nearly broke you. You've stood at the event horizon of your own emotions, frozen while the rest of the world moved on. You've had moments stretch like dying stars because your heart was caught in a gravity that couldn't be escaped. Maybe you were waiting for a phone call that never came, or sitting in a hospital room where minutes thickened like molasses, or listening to someone say, "It's over," and suddenly every second became unbearable. That's time dilation, not in theory, but in feeling, because time doesn't move the same for everyone, especially not for those in pain. If the universe slows time in deep gravity, why wouldn't your soul do the same in the presence of deep emotion? And so we imagine clocks that cry, not ticking with joy or order, but weeping slowly as if they can feel how much you're holding. These clocks don't tick to the beat of seconds. They tick to the weight of memory, to the ache of missing someone, to the long pull of a goodbye that still hasn't landed. Somewhere in the quantum fabric of your being, there is a place that still waits, still hopes, still suspends its time in orbit around something it can't let go. And maybe that's okay. Maybe grief is supposed to bend time. Maybe longing is supposed to stretch it. Because when something matters deeply, its gravity should distort you. Love shouldn't pass like a breeze. Loss shouldn't be linear. And healing shouldn't have a schedule. So let your inner clock slow. Let it pause. Let it drag its hands through the thick syrup of the moment until you're ready to move again. You are not weak for taking time. You are not broken for living outside the speed of others. You are simply close to something massive, something real, something sacred, and gravity always leaves its mark. Have you ever tried to explain why some days feel endless, while others vanish before you can even breathe them in? Science says time is constant, but inside us, it's anything but. We don't experience time in straight lines. We experience it in pressure, in presence, in meaning. A moment with someone you love can feel like it lasts forever and still vanish too quickly. But a single hour of anxiety can feel like an entire lifetime. Every minute dripping like a stone into a bottomless well. It's not the length that matters. It's the weight. That's what black holes remind us. That time is not indifferent. It bends. It flexes. It warps under the mass of what matters most. So what happens when love becomes massive? What happens when your heart carries so much feeling, so much memory, so much gravity, that time itself slows in its presence? There are people who come into your life, and the moment they leave, your hours feel longer, not richer, heavier, because you're not just passing time, you're enduring it. You're enduring the absence of their gravity, their laughter no longer pulling you into orbit, their voice no longer bending your inner space. And so your days lose shape. Your thoughts stretch like cosmic dust. Your inner clock that once kept time to their heartbeat now ticks alone and out of rhythm. This is the emotional echo of relativity. You move through life, but time doesn't feel the same without their mass beside you. You don't miss them like a fact. You miss them like a law of nature. And in that grief, you become your own singularity, a tiny world folding in on itself. But it's not just grief, it's also longing, the kind that makes the days ache with potential, the kind that builds futures in your mind faster than light, while your body remains trapped in the slow orbit of now, waiting for something, someone, some moment. And while you wait, your time dilates, because you're not really here. You're halfway across a dream. Time stretches between the now and the not yet, and your soul gets caught in the middle. What science calls gravitational time dilation, we live as emotional suspension. An internal slow-motion reel where the clocks don't tick. They whisper. They whisper that something's coming, that something once was, that something mattered so much, it bent the minutes around it, and you just listen. You don't rush it. You can't, because when you're in deep gravity, you don't move quickly. You move with care, with reverence, with awareness that some moments are galaxies all their own. Imagine this. A satellite circles a massive planet, not because it chooses to, but because gravity holds it there. Not forcefully, but constantly, endlessly. That's how certain memories behave inside us. They orbit, not fading, not fleeing, just circling, pulled back by the invisible mass of what we once felt, and perhaps never stopped feeling. That ache in your chest when you pass a place you once laughed. That sudden pause in breath when a song plays that belonged to you and them. Those are your personal black holes. They're not violent, they're not loud, but they are dense, and in their presence the seconds slow. Your thoughts drag, your inner world whispers, stay a moment longer, because some feelings don't want to move on. They want to linger, like gravity's gentle trap, not a cage, but a cradle. This is what love can do. Not just romantic love, but deep connection, a parent, a friend, even a version of yourself from another time. These inner gravities, they don't pull you backward, they pull you inward, and inside that pull, time becomes thick. It drips like honey through silence. There's an old physics thought experiment. Imagine you fall into a black hole. To an outside observer, you freeze, stuck on the event horizon forever. But to you, time continues. Is that what heartbreak is? A timeline where you keep moving, but the world watches you stuck, frozen in the gravity of a goodbye. And yet, there's beauty in that slowness, because what slows time also deepens it. What bends light also reveals it. We may ache under the weight of love or loss, but that weight gives our moments depth. Because here's a secret. Clocks don't cry because they're broken. They cry because they're witnesses. Every tick, every talk is a soft sob for what can't be held. A minute with someone you love is never just 60 seconds. It's a pocket universe, a memory seed, a gravitational field that will warp your future days forever. So we ask again, if your heart were a planet, how long would 1 minute last? Would time rush? Would it crawl? Would it stretch to hold the echo of someone's name? Maybe that's why time feels different at night, when you're alone, when the world goes quiet, because all the clocks come closer then, all the weight you've gathered presses gently against your chest, and you realize you're not just passing through time, you're carrying it, cradling it, feeling every tremor of its gravity. And the deeper the feeling, the slower the seconds, because emotion is not soft, it's dense. It bends your world. It makes you human. It makes you cosmic. Close your eyes. Now imagine something radical. You are not human. You are not a thinker, a dreamer, a doer. You are a photon, a single particle of light. No bones, no breath, no clock inside your chest. You do not grow old. You do not wait. You simply move, always at the speed of light, always forward. But here's the strangest part. From your perspective, no time passes. Not a second, not a blink. You leave a distant star, travel billions of miles, and arrive on Earth in an instant. To the photon, the journey is immediate. There was no distance, no delay, no unfolding, only presence. Now pause. Let that idea stretch inside you. Because if that's true, if light doesn't experience time, then what does that make time? A human illusion? A byproduct of friction? Of slowness? Is time simply what we feel because we can't move that fast? Maybe. Maybe time only exists because we do, because our bodies are made of atoms that bump and bounce and resist, because we fall, because we change, because we bruise. But what if we didn't? What if deep down, beneath the flesh, beneath the fear, we are still that photon, timeless, unafraid, unmoving in the truest way? Quantum physics whispers this to us, that particles don't behave like us. They don't obey our ideas of location or order. They flicker between possibilities. They exist in superpositions. And when we try to observe them, they collapse, as if choosing a form just to make sense to us. And maybe the self does the same. Maybe we aren't fixed. Maybe we're a flicker, a pattern dancing between moments, never landing in just one place until we're seen. You call it identity. The world calls it you. But what if it's just a probability cloud, stabilized by memory and names? What if, at your core, you are not someone in time, but someone outside it? Not a story unfolding, but a wave function waiting to collapse. It's a surreal idea to think that you might not be moving forward, that you are not riding the river of time, but standing still, watching it rush past like water. Einstein once said, "For us believing physicists, the past, present, and future are only illusions, however persistent." So what do you do with a truth like that? You stop, not your body, but yourself. You let the rush slow. You feel the silence behind each second. You recognize the deep stillness that has always been there, beneath the tick, beneath the thoughts. Because if time is movement and movement is resistance, then stillness is eternity. What would it mean to be timeless, but not immortal? To live not forever, but outside of before and after? This is where the human mind stumbles, because we've built our entire sense of reality on the rhythm of time. Wake, eat, work, age, a heartbeat of hours. We think we move through time, but maybe it's time that moves through us. And if that's true, then who are you when you stop moving? Let's return to the photon. It has no rest frame. It can't be still. It can't age. From its own point of view, it was emitted and absorbed in the same moment. And yet, it carried energy. It carried information. It did something. It touched something. Illuminated, activated, changed. So how do you define an existence that doesn't experience time, but still leaves a mark? Now feel that idea inside your chest, that maybe your deepest self, beneath the layers of brain and breath, is not moving through a story, but creating the illusion of story through interaction, through presence, through contact, not because you lasted long, but because you arrived, because you touched something, someone, some moment, and changed it. What if that's what you truly are? Not a name, not a history, but a moment of transmission, an energy transfer, a burst of presence. There's a paradox here in how quantum mechanics forces us to confront our own absence, because the deeper we look, the less thing we find. Electrons aren't little balls. They're clouds of probability, locations that don't exist until we measure them. They are questions masquerading as answers, and maybe so are we. We think we're solid, fixed, but how much of yourself is only real because someone else looked at you and said, I see you. You became a particle because someone collapsed your wave. You became a self because someone gave you a name. It's terrifying and beautiful because it means you are both more real than you thought and less. You are not the passing of time. You are not the clock. You are the flicker, the dance, the uncatchable thing. And maybe that's why you feel so restless, because your soul remembers something your body has forgotten. Stillness is your native state. Timelessness is your true condition. All this rushing is the dream. You ache for peace not because life is too fast, but because you are too vast to be measured by moments. You were never built to be measured in minutes. You are not a line. You are not a loop. You are not even a wave. You are the possibility that something extraordinary might happen if just for a second you are seen. Now imagine this. You are the photon, pure light, weightless, timeless. You are born in the heart of a star, or from the glint of a tear, or the shimmer of a thought reflected off someone's skin. You move instantly. There is no before. There is no after. You are not racing through time. You are outside of it, and yet, everywhere you go, you create time. You draw shadows. You give objects edges. You turn the invisible into the seen. You never feel time pass, but you allow others to know it exists. That's the paradox, isn't it? The timeless is what makes time visible. The still is what reveals motion. And maybe that's the riddle you've been living this whole time. You, the human, the thinker, the dreamer, feel time crushing you, aging you, measuring you. But what if the you that feels time is not the deepest you? What if the ache you carry isn't from passing through time, but from forgetting that you were never meant to? Because buried inside your being is a particle's perspective, a quantum ghost, a flicker of eternity wearing a nervous system like a coat. You feel slow, you feel heavy, you feel like you're waiting for something to happen. But at the subatomic level, you are the happening. Every thought you have collapses a possibility. Every choice you make alters the field. Every moment of stillness is actually overflowing with quantum uncertainty. You're not watching a movie called Life. You're co-authoring it, frame by impossible frame, without ever leaving the now. But we're not used to this kind of self. We want names, timelines, achievements. We crave evidence that we mattered. But what if the proof is in how things shifted after you passed through? Like a photon, you don't need to last. You just need to land, not to build monuments, but to ignite molecules, not to stay, but to leave echoes. Even now, somewhere in your body, photons are striking cells from stars that died before humans ever spoke. And you, in this quiet moment, are the witness, the collision, the one whose nerves become meaning when touched by light. So what are you? You are not moving through time. You are not a victim of its current. You are the flash that makes time feel real. You're not becoming something. You already are, timeless, motionless, and yet always changing everything you touch. And maybe, just maybe, you've never been separate from the moment at all. You were the moment disguised as a person, longing to return to what it's always been. Distance, you whisper, is just a number, a coordinate, a length, a map with lines. But something in you doesn't believe it, because when you miss someone, no ruler can measure that ache. When you think of someone who once held your soul together, but now lives on the other side of goodbye, miles mean nothing. Their absence echoes louder than oceans. And when you sit beside someone who doesn't truly see you, who smiles politely but never reaches your depth, they feel farther away than stars. So what is distance, really? Einstein shattered our neat little maps. He told us space isn't rigid. It bends, it curves, it stretches depending on how fast you move. If you travel close to the speed of light, what once looked far becomes near. The universe contracts. To the traveler, thousands of light years can shrink into a moment. Distance becomes elastic, relative, subject to motion. Now pause and think about how you've experienced love, grief, memory. Haven't you already known this truth? When you fall in love, the world seems to shrink. Every second without them feels long, but every time you're near, days collapse into minutes. And when you lose someone, truly lose them, every place they touched feels like a crater. The room they once sat in feels 1,000 lifetimes away. In this way, your emotions have always known relativity. Your heart is a kind of physicist, a quiet, trembling observer, measuring time not with clocks, but with feeling. You know that 1,000 miles can be bridged by a single message, and one forgotten glance can create a chasm nothing crosses again. Maybe this isn't just poetry. Maybe it's physics. The world isn't a fixed grid. It's a shifting field. You are not a dot on a map. You are the map maker, constantly redrawing space based on where your soul moves. A friend you haven't seen in 10 years can appear in a dream, and you wake up as if no time or space passed at all. And someone you speak to daily, yet never truly connect with, can vanish from your internal universe without ever leaving the room. So what defines closeness? Not kilometers, not coordinates, but something deeper. A kind of resonance. It's when two frequencies match in the dark. When two beings collapse the illusion of separation with shared presence. Distance, as we've been taught, might be a useful lie. Convenient for cities and ships, for schedules and satellites. But not for longing, not for memory, not for those who carry ghosts. Because the ones we love, we carry with us, not behind us, but inside us. Their words echo not from across the world, but from chambers of thought that keep playing their voices long after they're gone. Your mind is not a brain in a skull. It is a field, an atmosphere, a storm of remembered touch. And if that's true, then the far has always been near. The dead have always been speaking. In space, this thing we fear because it separates might actually be made of connection we just haven't learned how to see yet. Maybe distance isn't the absence of closeness. Maybe it's a different kind of closeness we haven't learned to measure. Not in feet, but in echoes. Not in GPS signals, but in how often they cross your mind without permission. So the next time you feel far from someone, ask yourself, is the distance out there, or is it just a shadow cast by some internal moon you haven't turned toward yet? Because somewhere inside you, they might still be sitting beside you, and always were. Imagine two particles, quantum entangled, once touching, now separated by galaxies. But disturb one, and the other reacts instantly. No time delay, no signal sent, just connection. Spooky action at a distance, Einstein called it. Half amazed, half unsettled. Because if that's true, then our entire understanding of space starts to shiver. It means that closeness doesn't always require proximity, that nearness can exist without contact, that something can feel right there even when it's nowhere you can reach. And isn't that just how memory works? You're sipping tea, a certain scent rises, and suddenly you're 6 years old, wrapped in your grandmother's shawl, listening to the wind kiss the windows. You didn't travel, you didn't move, but space folded inwards like origami. There are no flights between now and then, only feeling, only recall. Memory defies distance. Dreams laugh at it. And love, real love, doesn't care what country your body is in. Maybe space is not a wall, but a mirror. And what you see far away is often something just buried deeper within. Your childhood home, the one you keep seeing in your dreams. It's not back there. It's here, stored in your emotional architecture. And that person you miss is not floating somewhere in another city. They're here too, in the way your voice stumbles when you hear their name, in the pause you take before replying to something that reminds you of them. So where's the real map? because clearly Google can't find it, and your GPS doesn't know how to route through heartbreak. No, this is a different kind of geography, one written in soft glances, unfinished sentences, and music that once mattered. And you're the cartographer, the one quietly redrawing the universe every time someone leaves or returns, every time a stranger becomes important or a loved one becomes a stranger. In this emotional cosmos, you measure closeness not by who texts first, but by who feels like silence isn't empty when they're around. Not by who shows up, but by who stays with you even when they're not physically there. And maybe that's the whole point. That distance isn't real because connection doesn't obey geometry. It obeys something else, something older, more subtle, like resonance, like gravitational pull, like the hidden threads that tug at your chest for no logical reason. You feel someone thinking of you, and your heart moves. You open your phone just as they call, and maybe, just maybe, that's not coincidence. Maybe thought itself travels through some kind of emotional space we haven't learned to measure yet. A kind of intuitive entanglement between souls that have shared something too complex to name. And if that's true, then there's a kind of teleportation we've always known. It's in music that brings someone back, in smells that carry you to another time, in letters never sent but always felt. So now, when you say, I miss them, what if you added, and they're already here? Not just in your memories, but in your structure, in your internal rhythm, in the subtle warp and stretch of your space-time. Because maybe you've been carrying them the whole time, and maybe the people you think you've lost are not far away at all, just softly shifted to another layer of the present moment your eyes haven't adjusted to yet. Close your eyes for a moment. Picture someone you love, someone you haven't seen in a while, now. Where are they? If you were a physicist, you might say, in another reference frame, on a different part of the Earth's surface, moving through space-time on their own unique trajectory. But if you were honest, really honest, you might just say, they're inside me, in the way you hold your breath before reading an old message, in the songs you skip because they hurt too much, in the dreams you don't talk about because they still include that person. So what if space is an illusion, a performance, a suggestion, a helpful metaphor for a brain that can't comprehend non-locality? Because in the quantum world, particles don't live in space the way we think. They exist in a web of probabilities, no fixed location, just likelihood, just vibration. And maybe so do we. Maybe what we call closeness isn't spatial, but vibrational. You feel close to someone not because they're next to you, but because they resonate. They hum at your frequency, and when they go silent, it's not distance that hurts. It's the dissonance, the sudden absence of their signal in your emotional radio. We say things like, she's far away now. He's distant lately. But we don't mean geography. We mean energy. We mean the collapse of that mysterious bridge that once allowed your soul to walk across without hesitation. Because when someone stops feeling available, you start to doubt if they ever were real. And the loneliest feeling in the universe is not being alone. It's being in the same room as someone who no longer reaches you. That's when space becomes a scream. And still, isn't it strange how sometimes, in the middle of the night, you suddenly feel close to someone you haven't spoken to in years? Maybe they're awake too. Maybe they're thinking of you. Or maybe there's a different kind of gravity pulling you both to the same unspoken moment. A reunion not of bodies, but of emotions, of shared echoes playing softly through the dark. Because not all closeness requires contact. Sometimes it just requires remembrance, or the willingness to feel without explanation. So maybe the real question isn't, where are they? Maybe it's, what part of me still holds them? And in that holding, isn't the distance already undone? We spend our lives chasing being close, closer to success, closer to someone, closer to who we want to be. But what if we stopped chasing and started listening? To the quiet hum of the people we've loved, to the strange synchronizations that remind us we're not as alone as we think, to the secret softness of time, bending not to clocks, but to emotion. And then, with that awareness, we begin to dissolve the illusion. That space is a wall. That time is a line. That love has a location. Because none of those things have ever been true. In the universe of the heart, you can be light years apart and still feel a breath on your skin. You can be face to face and still feel worlds away. So say it with a whisper. Distance isn't real. Not when memory folds space. Not when emotion bends time. Not when love is a quantum entanglement, written not in coordinates, but in feeling. And maybe, just maybe, the furthest you've ever been from someone was when you were sitting right next to them, pretending you weren't falling apart. And the closest? Right now, in this remembering, in this aching echo between your heart and theirs. Shh. Can you hear it? That hush behind the wall. That almost sound that doesn't come through your ears, but through your breath. A whisper without a voice. A possibility without permission. Sometimes it comes at night, not as a thought, but as a presence. Not something you planned for, but something that arrived anyway. It's the murmur of a particle brushing against the edge of what should be impossible. In the world of the very small, there is a strange kind of rebellion. Particles, tiny flickers of being, sometimes pass through barriers they shouldn't. Walls they don't have enough energy to climb. Obstacles they should bounce off of. But they don't bounce. They drift through, like ghosts, like secrets. Physicists call this quantum tunneling. It breaks every rule our ordinary minds live by. There's a barrier, there's a rule, there's no way through. But somehow, impossibly, there is. It's as if the universe is whispering. Not everything needs permission to move forward. And maybe you've felt this, not as an equation, but as a moment. You're stuck. You're certain you are. The door is closed. The wall is solid. The path is gone. You've already told yourself the story of being trapped. But something soft, barely noticeable, shifts. And you change anyway. Not loudly, not with force, but like a quiet yes in the middle of a no. What does it mean to tunnel through something? It means you didn't explode. You didn't overpower. You didn't have what it took. And still, somehow, you passed through. It means you defied the statistics, that you became an exception to the rule, that the moment you believed nothing could change, something did. It's terrifying in a beautiful way, because it means the story isn't over when you think it is. It means your sadness doesn't have to be a prison. It means your fear doesn't always get the final word. It means the part of you that doubts, the voice that says, it's too late, isn't the only voice. Because somewhere beneath the equations, beneath the laws, beneath the despair, possibility is still whispering. This is the universe's quietest miracle, that even when every reason says no, you might still slip through. And you don't need to know how. Particles don't think. They don't make decisions. They simply behave in ways we still don't fully understand. So maybe you don't have to understand either. Maybe you're not supposed to. Maybe you're only supposed to soften, to listen, to notice when the wall in front of you starts to feel less solid, because sometimes it isn't. Sometimes the obstacle is made of fear and memory and imagination. And sometimes the most quantum thing you can do is trust the way forward isn't logical. It's real anyway. Even when you can't see it, even when you shouldn't be able to move, you might already be moving, even now. You think of all the times you didn't act, not because you didn't want to, but because the wall looked too real. That conversation you never started, that risk you never took, that version of yourself you buried quietly under not yet. But maybe what stopped you wasn't the wall itself. Maybe it was your belief that it had to be solid, because in the strange ballet of the quantum world, What's real is often just probable, and probabilities are soft things. They bend sometimes when you're gentle. You don't need certainty to act. You don't need proof to move, because sometimes, like tunneling particles, you only pass through by not knowing you can't. It's like the universe leaves cracks in the laws it wrote, tiny, trembling cracks that only open for those who don't kick the door, but whisper through it. And maybe this is the deeper miracle of quantum tunneling. Not that matter moves through walls, but that the heart can too. You can feel it, can't you? There's a version of you on the other side. Not better, just freer. Not finished, just lighter. Not louder, just more real. And they aren't waiting for you with fireworks. They're waiting with stillness, with the kind of silence that feels warm, with a space that says, even if you don't know how to get here, I already believe in your arrival. What if the next step isn't loud? What if change is a vibration, not a decision? What if possibility is not an idea, but a frequency? There are walls you've never tried walking through, not because they're unbreakable, but because you believed the sign on them, do not enter. But particles don't read signs. They drift, they shimmer, they follow the pulse of possibility. And maybe so can you. Breathe. Can you feel it now? That slight thinning of reality, right at the edge of your resistance? It feels like waiting, like longing, like some part of you pressing against the shape of tomorrow, asking for permission to seep through. And the wall doesn't break, it just loosens. It stops feeling like never and starts feeling like almost. Because when you stop demanding proof, you start becoming the proof. When you stop needing guarantees, you become the question the universe can't say no to. And that's when it happens. Not all at once, not in a movie montage, but slowly, imperceptibly, soft as a shadow. You realize you are already on the other side of something you used to be afraid of. Some things you arrive at without going. Some people you meet without touching. Some places live inside you before you ever visit. What is this mystery? You sit perfectly still, but something in you leaps across memories, emotions, distances. You feel a person. You relive a moment. You ache for something you never even had, as if the longing itself made it real. Maybe it did. Because in quantum physics, particles separated by light years can still change each other instantly. No signal, no travel, just connection. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance. But maybe it's not spooky. Maybe it's sacred. There are people you haven't spoken to in years who still shift when you do. There are choices you made long ago that ripple through the present, like gentle ghosts. You don't have to understand how it works to feel that it does, because somewhere, beneath logic and measurement, beneath explanation and doubt, you've always known that time isn't the only way we reach each other. There's something else. Call it presence, call it attention, call it the gravity of the soul. But it's real, and it moves faster than light. So here's a strange thought. Maybe your thoughts, when deeply felt, can arrive in places your body never will. Maybe your presence, your being, isn't confined to your skin or your location or your identity. Maybe the self is smeared like a wave function across everyone you've ever loved, every dream you've ever chased, every corner of time you've dared to imagine. And maybe that's why you feel so tired sometimes, not from motion, but from being in too many places at once, from loving across distances, from remembering across lifetimes, from existing in a world that only counts what it can measure. But you are not measurable. You are entangled with more than your timeline can hold. So now, as the silence thickens, as the drift deepens, we leave you with one question, a question not to answer, but to dream through. What if you've already arrived, and time is just the path your memory takes to catch up? Oh, close your eyes. You're already home. You just haven't remembered how to feel it yet. Who were you yesterday? Not in the way your name answers, but in the way your silence does. Who were you when you paused before answering that message, or looked at an old photo and didn't quite recognize the eyes? That version of you, the one who used to ache differently, laugh louder, or believe without question, where did they go? Are they buried in your bones? Do they still whisper through your choices? Or have they dissolved completely, like mist that never told the sky it was leaving? This is the quiet terror of becoming, that you are never not changing, even now, as you sit still, as your body rests, your cells are replacing, your memories are reshaping, your meanings are mutating. There's no you that stays, only a story that keeps revising itself in the margins of each passing second. Time doesn't just pass, it pulls. It drags your name across a sea of unknowns. It steals your certainties and replaces them with softer, stranger truths. And no one warns you that this is what growth feels like. Not a glorious rising, but a subtle unrecognizing. You wake up one day and realize the music you used to love feels like someone else's joy. The dreams you held no longer fit your skin. The anger that used to burn brightly has dimmed into a soft ache, not gone, but quieter, less sure of itself. What is this erosion? Or maybe, what is this evolution? When does shedding stop feeling like loss and start feeling like truth? Maybe you are not one self, but a procession of selves, each arriving with the season, each shaped by who you needed to be to survive the moment you were in. The child version, the warrior version, the broken version, the version who smiled too much, the one who stopped hoping, the one who dared to start again. None of them are false. None of them are permanent. They're all chapters, stitched together by time's drifting current, a current you didn't choose, but were always being carried by. And the strange part? You never quite feel the drift until you turn around, until you realize the shore is gone. The old self is unreachable, and the only map you have is made of feelings you haven't yet translated. You are not what stays, you are what moves. But movement doesn't mean motion. It means change, it means surrender, it means letting go of who you thought you'd always be so you can meet the one you're becoming. And maybe that's the quiet miracle. You are being rewritten by forces deeper than decision, by time, by truth, by tenderness too slow to notice. You are a tide, a becoming, a verb disguised as a person. You are the drift itself, and yet, despite all the shifting, you still say, "This is me." Isn't that strange? How can something so fluid still feel so familiar, so real, so you? Maybe identity is not a fixed point, but the pattern of your tides, the fingerprint of your flow, not what you are, but how you move through the mystery. You are not the thing changing. You are the changing itself. And in this strange light, even your pain starts to shimmer differently, not as a flaw in your being, but as a necessary current in your becoming. The heartbreak that taught you gentleness, the silence that sharpened your listening, the failure that cracked your ego open, just enough for humility to get in. You didn't lose yourself, you shed, like a tree letting go of leaves, not because they're wrong, but because the season is done. And still, the roots remain. Still, the soil remembers. But we are afraid of this truth, aren't we? We're taught to find ourselves, as if the self is buried the treasure, waiting under some ancient emotional rubble. But what if there's nothing to find? What if the self isn't hidden, just constantly happening? Then the question becomes, can you love a self that doesn't stay? Can you honor a truth that refuses to be permanent? This is the emotional gravity of time. It does not ask permission to change you. It just does, and asks you to catch up with who you've become, sometimes gently, sometimes not. There are days you'll look at your own reflection and feel like you're meeting a stranger, someone older, softer, wiser in ways you didn't earn, and emptier in places you thought would always be full. It's okay. You're not broken. You're unfolding. You're just catching up with the version of yourself who's been waiting patiently for you to notice they've arrived. The one who's been quietly carrying your grief, your growth, your grace, without needing recognition. Now, you're ready to say hello, to look in the mirror and whisper, "I see you." Not as a final answer, but as a beginning. This is how time remakes us, not by force, but by erosion, by gentle, persistent invitation, to leave behind what no longer echoes, to step into what might finally fit. And sometimes, the most radical thing you can do is let go of who you used to be without needing a funeral for them. Because the you of yesterday was never a mistake, just a moment, just a version that helped you reach here, and here is enough. You don't have to keep proving who you are. You don't have to apologize for what you've outgrown. The drift is sacred, even if it's quiet, even if it's lonely, because you're not falling apart. You're falling inward, and what you're becoming has never existed before. And so, if time is the river, then identity is not the rock. It's the ripple. It's not the solid, but the shimmer. You are not the thing being carried downstream. You are the shimmer across the surface, the trembling evidence that the current is real. And what a quiet miracle that is. Because in every shimmer, you are becoming. Even when it feels like you're just surviving. Even when it feels like you've gone nowhere at all. Even now, as you lie still, you're becoming. There is no final version of you. No finish line, no blueprint, no applause at the end of the real self quest. Because the real self was never a destination. It was always the echo of how you listened, of how you learned, of what you chose to carry and what you chose to forgive. And maybe that's what makes you real. Not your name, not your memories, not your opinions, but your ability to keep stepping into the unknown and calling it home. Think about how many versions of you have lived and died already inside this single lifetime. The child who thought the world was fair, the teenager who thought love was enough, the idealist, the cynic, the dreamer, the quiet survivor. All of them, not mistakes, but layers, not ghosts, but stepping stones. You've been a mosaic of selves, each one breaking just enough to let the next light in. So why be afraid of changing again? Why mourn what must evolve? Time never asked you to be perfect, only to be present, to stay close to your edges when they tremble, to stay curious when the answers feel far away, and to remember, the discomfort you feel now may be your next self being born. Labor is rarely gentle, but it is always sacred. So when the ache of becoming feels too much, pause. Not to fix yourself, but to witness yourself, to whisper, "This part of me is not wrong. It's just not final." There will be days you miss who you were, and that's okay. You can grieve the comfort of an old self without going back to live there. You can miss the mask without needing to wear it again, because now you know better, that the drift isn't a loss, it's a liberation. From the lie that you must stay the same to be worthy of love, from the illusion that you were ever meant to be still in a universe built on motion. You were made to outgrow. You were made to outlove, outlive, and outglow who you used to be. So tonight, as you float through sleep, let go of the pressure to be consistent. Let go of the shame that you feel different. Let go of the myth that you're behind. You are not late to your life. You are arriving. Each moment you choose to be honest, each time you soften instead of harden, each breath you take toward who you are now, that is the real work. And you are doing it beautifully, not by force, but by grace, not with clarity, but with courage, not all at once, but exactly in time. You are the river. You are the drift. You are the one who's never finished, but never fake. And that is enough. That is you Time doesn't only live in galaxies, it doesn't only stretch in years or fold itself into the pages of physics. Sometimes it lives right here, in your lungs. Inhale, and the universe expands inside you. Exhale, and it collapses gently back into stillness. That's it. That's time. Not out there, but here. Not vast, but vital. Every breath you take is a miniature eternity. A rise, a fall, a birth, it's a release. No need to chase the clocks. No need to calculate the cosmos. The rhythm of now is already playing inside you. Quiet, steady, honest, and it's been there all along. Pause for a moment, not to think, but to feel. Place your awareness not on your thoughts, but on the space between them. That soft, glowing silence rising with your inhale, settling with your exhale. There, that's the present, not as an idea, not as a goal, but as a sensation. You've spent so long chasing tomorrow, carrying yesterday, trying to fix, to figure out, to finalize. But in all of that motion, you may have forgotten. You were never supposed to escape the moment. You were supposed to enter it. And the doorway? It's the breath. In the inhale, you gather the world. In the exhale, you give it back. What else is life, if not this endless trust fall into the lungs of time? And maybe this is what time wants from you. Not your speed, not your productivity, but your participation. To feel the second you are in without skipping past it. To meet the pulse of existence not through thought, but through presence. Through this breath, and this one, and this one. Breath is the only time machine you can actually control. It can slow your heartbeat, calm your storms, pull you out of future spirals and past regrets, not by force, but by rhythm, not by knowing, but by noticing. The inhale says, you are alive. The exhale says, you are safe. Repeat until you believe it. There is a secret place beneath your thinking, beneath your reacting, beneath your remembering. It is the place where breath begins, not as air, but as awareness. Not as something you do, but something you are. You are not a person who breathes. You are breath that has learned to personify itself for a little while. In every inhale, you expand, gathering not just oxygen, but presence, possibility, the raw silence that existed before thought. In every exhale, you surrender. A small death, a letting go, a trust fall into the now. The more you follow this rhythm, the more you realize this is the only clock that matters. Not the digital numbers on your screen, not the ticking hands on your wall, but the gentle rise and fall of this sacred inner tide. Think of how many moments you've missed chasing other ones. You were always arriving somewhere else, always hoping, hurrying, hurting in anticipation. But here's the strange truth. The future never actually arrives. Not as a place, not as a feeling, not as a finish line. Only this breath arrives, and then it leaves, and then it returns. And you are not behind. You are right on time. Have you noticed how your breath reflects your emotions? When fear touches you, your breath shortens. When grief enters, your breath hesitates. When love holds you, your breath deepens. The breath is not separate from your inner world. It is your inner world expressed. It is the language your body speaks when your mind goes quiet. It is not just an action. It is an echo, a mirror, a guide. So try this. Let go of controlling anything. Let the breath lead you. Let it breathe you. Let your chest rise like a wave without effort. Let it fall back to shore without fear. Just for a while, don't push. Don't fix. Don't chase. Just float. You've never had to hold time. You only ever had to float in it. And here's the miracle. The breath happens whether you notice it or not. It's always been there. Through every heartbreak, every memory, every version of you. It stayed. Even when you didn't. Even when you got lost in worry, buried in regret, or scattered by noise. The breath never left. It waited patiently for your return. And now, here you are, home again, inside this moment, inside this inhale, inside this you. The philosophers searched for the present moment through logic. The mystics found it through silence. The physicists chased it through space-time. But the breath holds it in every second. No equations, no scriptures, no clocks, just the quiet rhythm of being alive. You've been moving through time your whole life, but the real secret, time has also been moving through you, and the portal, the only portal you've ever needed, was hidden in your lungs. Right now, in this breath, you are not behind. You are not broken. You are not missing anything. You are simply here, breathing. And maybe, just maybe, this is what the universe wanted you to remember before you drifted off to sleep tonight. That presence isn't something you earn. It's something you allow. That peace doesn't come after you solve everything. It comes when you stop needing to. That time is not against you. It is inside you. That the breath is not just a function. It is a prayer without words, a lullaby without sound, a return without movement. So tonight, don't try to capture the present. Let it capture you. Let the breath cradle you like the tide cradles a drifting ship. Let yourself dissolve into this strange and beautiful now, where nothing needs to happen, nothing needs to make sense, and nothing needs to be different. This is the end of striving. This is the edge of stillness. This is the rhythm of now. Just breathe. Some things aren't meant to be remembered, not because they were painful, but because they were complete. A snowflake that touches your palm and disappears before you can admire its shape. Was that loss, or was that grace? You see, not all forgetting is failure. Some of it is mercy. Some of it is how the universe lets go without needing applause. We've been taught to preserve everything. Photos, files, names, timestamps, even conversations we wish we never had. But what if holding on isn't the mark of a full life? What if the most sacred moments are the ones too quiet to archive? Entropy? And to some, it's the enemy. The slow decay, the unraveling of what once stood strong. But to others, it's the great equalizer, the soft eraser of tension, the mother of release. In the language of stars, entropy is not destruction. It's a return to simplicity, from heat to stillness, from structure to surrender, from striving to soft collapse. It is how the universe breathes out. You don't need to grip the past so tightly. It's already done gripping you. That thing you said, that thing they said, that mistake, that glory, that almost. They're shadows now, and shadows don't weigh anything unless you try to carry them. You were not designed to archive every version of yourself. You were made to transform, to forget just enough that you could be reborn. Entropy is not a thief. It's a gardener, clearing the overgrowth so something new can take root. It's how memories fade just enough to let forgiveness in. How grief softens just enough to let sleep return. How the loudest pain turns into background wind you can finally walk through without flinching. This isn't forgetting as erasure. It's forgetting as freedom. There's a quiet dignity in no longer needing to explain yourself to memories that don't speak your name anymore. There's a kind of peace in not being haunted by every version of who you were. Sometimes, the most profound healing isn't in remembering what happened, but in not needing to anymore. Let the moments blur. Let the names fade. Let the story dissolve into something formless, like mist rising off a lake. You don't need to hold it. You only need to bless it as it leaves. Look at the trees. They let go of their leaves every year without panic, without shame. The branches don't cry when spring forgets the shape of autumn. They simply begin again. Maybe that's what entropy really is, a sacred forgetfulness. Not chaos, but cleansing. Not losing, but loosening. So let yourself unravel a little tonight. Let the images blur. Let the soundtrack skip. Let the memories melt. You don't need to rescue every detail. You don't need to trap the past in amber and carry it forward like proof you lived. You lived. That is enough. And now, you are living still. Let that be your proof. Every day, billions of moments vanish without anyone noticing. A glance, a sentence, a heartbeat, they go where all small miracles go, into the arms of entropy. And in that gentle forgetting, there is a rhythm, a hush, a grace note, a lullaby only the universe can hear. So as you drift now, not just into sleep, but into this deeper softness of self, let it all blur. Let the edges smudge. Let the names dissolve. What remains isn't noise, it's essence, not the story, but the soul beneath it. And this soul, this quiet, ever-becoming presence, does not need memory to be real. It simply needs rest. Somewhere deep within you, there's a room without clocks. No calendars hang on the walls. No lists, no reminders, only soft light and dust that dances to the rhythm of a silence you forgot you trusted. This is the place you return to when nothing else makes sense, where the mind doesn't chase meaning, where time doesn't chase you. It's where forgetting becomes sacred, not an absence of memory, but a return to presence. We tend to think of ourselves as collections of what we've kept: photos, names, lessons, pain. But perhaps we are just as much a product of what we've released. The missteps we no longer punish. The futures we no longer obsess over. The stories we've stopped telling ourselves about who we should have been by now. The quiet forgetting isn't just about what fades. It's about what frees. Entropy is not loud. It doesn't shout when the stars begin to dim. It doesn't weep when the flame turns to ash. It just continues, softly, gently, inevitably. It asks nothing from you except that you stop resisting the unraveling, that you stop trying to keep every thread knotted tight. There is something beautiful in the slow undoing, like breath after heartbreak, like snow collapsing softly into the earth that no longer needs to fight the cold. Have you ever watched a dream fade as you wake? The way it slips through your hands even as you try to remember its shape? That isn't loss. That's nature. Memory was never meant to be a photograph. It was always a watercolor, blurry at the edges, bleeding into the next thing before the last was dry. You're not broken for forgetting. You're human. You're not careless for letting go. You're just making room for something new. In the language of physics, entropy means things move from order to disorder, from concentrated to diffused, from structure to spread. But what if that movement wasn't a breakdown, but a blessing? Imagine a field of tightly packed snow melting into a stream that nourishes wildflowers in spring. Was that loss, or was it release? The snow did not fail. It fulfilled its purpose by becoming something softer. Maybe you too are melting into something more alive. There are memories you cling to because they once defined you, but are they still yours? Or are they just echoes you've mistaken for your name? Sometimes we keep pain around not because it's useful, but because it's familiar, because the weight becomes a friend, a way to prove we once loved deeply, or feared greatly, or failed completely. But you don't need proof anymore. You were there, you felt it, you lived it. Now, let it go. Not because it didn't matter, but because it already did. The past is not a prison. It's a passage, and you are allowed to keep walking. You're allowed to forget the path if the view ahead asks for your full attention. You're allowed to stop looking back every time the wind whispers a name you don't answer to anymore. There is strength in continuing even when the map has faded. There is peace in not needing to explain what only your soul remembers. Sometimes forgetting feels like betrayal, like you're leaving something behind that was once sacred. But even the sacred must return to the dust. Even the holiest temple crumbles if it forgets how to change. So bless it. Bless the thing you once loved, the season that carried you, the sorrow that shaped you. Then let it dissolve. Let it drift like smoke into the folds of the night, where it can rest, where you can rest. Because this right here, is the lullaby of entropy. Not the scream of endings, but the hush that follows, the quiet clearing, the gentle space that opens up when the story finally exhales. You don't have to fill that space. Just lie in it. Just breathe in the calm that comes when there's nothing left to hold. Because in that stillness, something new begins. Not loud or dramatic, but soft, like the moment sleep finds you, and everything that once felt urgent is suddenly weightless. There's a moment just before the candle dies, where the flame flickers with grace. It knows it's leaving, but it doesn't fight. It dances. This is how endings whisper their worth, not with thunder, but with tenderness. You don't need a loud goodbye to honor what's past. Some things deserve to fade without ceremony, because the most powerful transformations often happen in silence. There's a lie we've all been taught, that if something matters, we must hold on to it forever. But even stars collapse. Even galaxies drift apart after lifetimes of spinning together. And yet, they do not grieve. They expand. What if you too are meant to expand? Not by accumulating more, but by releasing what once anchored you. Not by clinging tighter, but by loosening your grip and trusting that gravity still knows your name. You are not what you remember. You are what you are becoming in the quiet after remembering. The person you were 5 years ago is already a constellation too far to touch. Let them rest. You don't owe every version of yourself a permanent monument. You are not a museum. You are a sky, changing colors, shedding storms, making space for new light. There is no shame in not knowing who you are today. That confusion is sacred, because in the forgetting of old names, new ones are born. In the falling away of old dreams, you create space for wonder. And in the quiet after a chapter ends, you're not empty. You're open. Let go of the urge to archive everything. Not. All moments want to be kept. Some want to slip through your fingers, like sand warmed by sunlight. Some want to disappear into the folds of sleep without needing to be captured. You are not disloyal for letting things fade. You are not cold for choosing peace over preservation. You are simply human, and in the language of entropy, human means changing. Entropy isn't a villain. It's a lullaby sung by the universe to help you rest from trying to make sense of everything, to free you from the burden of holding it all together, to show you that letting go doesn't mean falling apart. It means finally falling into place. Have you noticed? The softest things endure the longest. Clouds, mist, memory. Not because they resist change, but because they are change. Because they know how to transform without panic, how to shift without shattering. You can be soft, too. You can be like fog, not afraid to disappear because you trust you'll return in another form. The people you've lost, the dreams you've buried, the versions of yourself you've shed, they aren't gone. They've just dissolved into the soil of your becoming. They're in the way you speak now, the way you pause when someone's hurting, the way you sleep a little deeper because you've known what it means to lie awake with sorrow. Forgetting doesn't erase, it composts. It turns the old into something fertile. It takes the ash and grows a garden. So breathe. You don't need to chase what's fading. You don't need to resurrect every love that went quiet or every dream that took a different road. What is meant to return will do so in new skin. What is meant to remain will stay without force. And what is meant to go will go peacefully if you let it leave without resistance. Lay down the weight of unfinished stories. Let the chapters you never closed close themselves in the night. Let the unanswered questions become stars you no longer need to name. You are allowed to sleep without solving it all. You are allowed to drift without direction and still arrive. You are allowed to forget without fear, because this is not an ending. It's a soft arrival into the quietest part of you, the part that knows peace is not made of answers, but of release. This is your permission to dissolve the knots, to let the river carry what you no longer need, to lie back as the universe sings you a lullaby written in stardust, sorrow, and soft surrender. You've carried enough. Now, let go. Let go like the tide lets go of the shore every night. Like breath lets go of the body as sleep begins. Like light lets go of form as the stars begin to blink. Let go until there is nothing left but stillness. And in that stillness, a new beginning, quietly forming. The night is still again, not silent, not empty, but still. That same stillness you met at the beginning of this journey. But now, you're different. You've floated through time like breath, felt the hum of particles, touched the event horizons of your own thoughts, and returned not with answers, but with a new kind of quiet. This stillness no longer feels like waiting. It feels like welcoming. Listen, can you hear it? That soft, rhythmic echo, a low cosmic thrum that pulses beneath everything. It's not out there anymore. It's in you. It always was. The stars don't just shine above. They reflect inside the folds of your quietest moments. The orbiting wasn't just celestial. You were orbiting too, around memories, around identities, around gravity that never asked for your permission. But now, the spinning has slowed, and you are simply here. Remember when the question felt sharp? Are you moving through time, or is time moving through you? It used to feel like a puzzle. Now it's a lullaby. It doesn't need solving anymore. It just is, like a wave that doesn't ask why it rises, like the wind that doesn't question the direction it flows. Your need for certainty has softened. You've learned that not all movement requires understanding. Some movement is simply part of the night breathing, and this night is breathing. You feel it, don't you? In the pause between your heartbeats, in the way your thoughts arrive slower now, not with urgency, but with grace. Even your questions come gently, no longer banging on the walls of your skull. They tiptoe in, curl up beside your wondering, and fall asleep there. What was once chaos has become choreography. The black holes weren't devouring you. They were simplifying you, removing the excess, leaving only the essential. You thought you'd get lost, but you were being refined. You thought you were unraveling, but you were making room for this moment, this strange, slow fullness where nothing needs to be done and everything is already enough. Even the stars seem quieter now, not dimmer, just more patient, as if they know you've stopped trying to catch up, as if they're finally able to rest too. They no longer have to perform as metaphors for meaning. They can just be. And you're allowed to just be too. No performance, no perfection, just presence. Breathe. Not because you must, but because you can. Breathe like you've finally remembered what it means to trust the night, that you don't need to hold it all, that the sky can carry some of it, that your thoughts don't need to be tamed, just witnessed. That stillness doesn't require you to be empty, just open. This is not the beginning, but it is a return to a self who has stopped chasing, to a soul that doesn't measure progress by how far it's traveled, but by how deep it's listened. You are not trying to escape time anymore. You are lying beside it like an old friend. The clock no longer ticks, it hums. You no longer race ahead, you rest within, and in this resting the loop completes, but not as a circle, as a spiral. Because though the night looks the same, you are not the same. You've spiraled inward, downward, deeper. You've met the versions of yourself you left behind in the chaos. You've cradled your former questions until they no longer screamed, only whispered. You've remembered the sound of your breath as something ancient, as something belonging to the stars. And now, the night is still again. But this time, it's not stillness you fear. It's stillness you've earned. You've reached the part of the journey where even the echoes are gentle, where even the silence feels alive. Not because it gives you answers, but because it no longer needs to. You've become the question. You've become the space where time can finally rest its head. You've become the calm. There's no countdown anymore, no ticking, no need to track the minutes as they slip past your skin like water. The urgency is gone. You are not racing toward a destination. You are allowing yourself to arrive. In this moment, in this breath, in this heartbeat that pulses as quietly as a moonbeam grazing the surface of a sleeping sea. You've passed through light and shadow, through silence and sound, through the soft storms of thought, and into this hush that doesn't ask for words. And here, even your memories lay themselves down. They are not gone. They're just not reaching for you anymore. They've exhaled too. All the moments you once replayed, endlessly, desperately searching for answers. They've settled into still frames now. Warm, soft, unmoving. You no longer live inside them. You simply rest beside them. Somewhere far away from here, a clock is still ticking. A phone is still buzzing. A thought is still sprinting toward validation. But not here. Not in this slow drift where stars don't rise. They hover. Where time doesn't push, it unfolds. Like a blanket wrapped around the outline of your soul. You are no longer waking. You are no longer falling. You are floating. And the world is finally still enough to hold you without asking for anything in return. There's a kind of clarity that only comes after everything else has fallen away. Not the clarity of facts or conclusions, but the clarity of ease, the understanding that not every wave must be caught, not every answer must be chased. Some truths arrive not as light, but as warmth. They don't illuminate, they soothe, like the hum in your chest as your breath deepens, like the pulse in your fingers as the night exhales. Do you feel it? The way your body is no longer a container for stress or ambition, but a vessel of calm? Even your thoughts know that they don't need to explain themselves anymore. They're just clouds now, passing, forming and dissolving without resistance, without identity, just motion, without meaning, and yet somehow more meaningful than ever. The paradox becomes poetry. You are still, and yet you've never felt so quietly alive. Not because of what you're doing, but because of what you're no longer doing, no longer gripping the edges of thought, no longer bracing for what's next. You are not holding on to time anymore. You're letting it cradle you, like a current that doesn't carry you away, but carries you home. And isn't that what this night has become? A home, not with walls, but with stars, not with locks, but with echoes. A home where even your restlessness has been given a place to sleep, where even your questions are allowed to dream, where the sharp corners of your inner world have rounded out into curves of gentleness. You're not shrinking, you're unfolding, like petals opening at midnight, like gravity easing its grip, like you're being remembered by the universe. You are not apart from the cosmos. You are a part of it. That breath you just took, it was made of stardust and forgotten songs. It was older than language, older than longing, and it knew exactly where to find you, right here, lying still, listening to the night breathe you back into peace. You don't have to know where you're going, not anymore. The path is no longer a line. It's a spiral of soft returns, each loop bringing you closer to the center of your own quiet knowing. And that center, it doesn't shout. It hums, just like the stars, just like your breath, just like the night. You are not late. You are not early. You are not lost, or behind, or too far ahead. You are exactly where the stillness has always wanted you. No striving, no reaching. Just this hush, just this warmth, just this perfect, gentle pause. And so, the night is still again. But now you understand that it always was. You were the one spinning, searching, straining. And now, you've stopped. You've quieted. You've listened long enough for the silence to speak back, and what it says is simple: rest. You've made it, and now you are lighter. Not because something has been removed, but because something inside you has been released. There is a soft letting go happening, not loud, not dramatic, like a feather slipping through fingers, like the tide receding at dawn, like sorrow turning into silence, and silence turning into peace. You are not falling asleep. You are being returned to a place you never really left. The stars are still out there, but they no longer dazzle or confuse you. They are not mysteries anymore. They are mirrors. And in their cold, ancient glow, you don't see distance. You see belonging. You see your own breath slipping into the atmosphere as if it was always meant to. You see your heartbeat echoing back from constellations that have watched over you since before you even had a name. They know your stillness now. They welcome it. Do you notice how the question still lingers? Are you moving through time, or is time moving through you? It's still here, but it no longer presses against your chest. It no longer begs for an answer. Now it just rests beside you, like a loyal companion with no agenda. Just a presence, just a rhythm, just a quiet understanding that some truths are meant to be lived, not solved. And isn't that the real magic? Not knowing, but trusting, not answering, but allowing. You don't need to wrestle the cosmos anymore. You've stopped measuring your place in it with coordinates or definitions. You don't need to be significant. You only need to be present, and you are, right now, here, in the cradle of your own breath, the soft weave of your own skin, the hush that the universe left just for you at the edge of consciousness. Nothing more is required. Not movement, not insight, not change, just the permission to stop trying to be anything other than what you already are, a vessel of starlight and shadow, a rhythm wrapped in flesh, a single note in the sleep song of the universe. And tonight you are in tune, perfectly, effortlessly, like gravity humming through bone, like silence curling through hair, like everything you've ever lost, gently folding its arms around you and whispering, "I never really left." You are not floating anymore. You are the current. You are not drifting through the night. The night is drifting through you, and all the questions, all the tension, all the wondering if you'll ever feel whole again, they don't need to be answered. They just need to be held, and you are holding them now without resistance, just as the sky holds the stars, not with fists, but with space. Do you hear it? The quiet pulse beneath all things, the low, gentle sound that only reveals itself when everything else has gone still? That is not sleep approaching. That is home, and you are already inside it. The past has loosened its grip. The future has taken a breath, and now you are suspended in the exact middle of everything, and it feels like peace. You don't have to ask the question again. You don't have to solve it. Whether time is moving through you or you through it doesn't matter anymore, because either way, you're still wrapped in it, still bathed in the softness of something ancient and kind, still breathing with the rhythm of something larger than thought, still here, and for now, here is enough. So let the stillness hold you, let the softness take over, let the question dissolve into the hum beneath your skin, and when the silence becomes too wide to measure, just close your eyes and let it carry you. No directions, no effort, no need to return, because you've already arrived. And now, the night is still again, and so are you. But before the silence fully takes you, just one question, soft as breath, weightless as stardust. What part of this felt like truth to you? Was it the moment you let go? Was it the question you didn't need to answer? Or the silence that felt like being held? Maybe it was something else. Maybe it was you. And if your thoughts are still gently floating, whisper them below, as softly as the stars speak to each other. What makes you feel most infinite or most small? We'll leave a quiet place in the comments for you to return to if ever you need to drift again. Pinned at the edge of the dream. What topic should we drift into next? Which line lingered with you tonight? Sleep well, traveler of time.